Today I'm going to show you how to make your own wall art by making a canvas. Super cheap and super easy. So let's get started. I purchased a 2x6 piece of wood from my local hardware store, and I started measuring out the sizes I wanted for the frame. I then angled the blade to 45 degrees and cut it. Even though the circular saw was set to 45 degrees, I was actually cutting at 49 degrees. So using an angle finder, I just went back and adjusted the circular saw until I found an angle that was close to 45. And once I was happy with that angle, I then used that same angle to cut the rest of the frames. And once I had all the pieces ready to go, I took it over to the table saw. I was really trying to keep this build super simple to where you wouldn't need a lot of tools, but this table saw is actually the best and the safest way to cut this piece of wood to 3. I had actually gotten my table saw for $60 on Craigslist versus $130 in store price. But be wary, if you're buying something off of Craigslist, definitely plug everything in to make sure it works properly before you buy it. But regardless of whatever price you pay, buying a table saw is definitely a good investment if you're interested in project builds. And once I finished with all the cuts, I angled the blade to 15 degrees and cut a slight bevel into all the pieces. I then assembled all the pieces together, pre-drilling before adding wood glue and screws. And make sure to not over tighten the screws, because if you do, you can actually cause the frame to shift out of position. As you can see here, I cut the bevel so that the higher edge was on the outside and the lower edge was on the inside. And once the wood glue dried, I went back with the countersink bit and made room for the screw heads to go in flush. And then I used some sandpaper to smooth out the sharp edges. I purchased this canvas sheet from an art store not too far from me, and I paid around $15 for the 3 yards of it. Oddly enough, canvas actually tears in straight lines, so once you make a little cut, you can just tear it straight way across. Now I'm just stretching the canvas, putting staples on one end and then tightening with the other before stapling. And once you stretch the canvas, it should essentially be like a drum. And for the corners, I'm just folding them over at the top and the bottom before stapling them down. And now I'm adding the primer I purchased from Walmart. And now we're just adding a black base coat. Now for the fun part. We just added a little bit of water to the acrylic paint and then splashed it onto the canvases. I would absolutely recommend to take this part of the project outside. This part is extremely messy. And once we were finished throwing paint at it, we took it inside and let it dry. And then sealed it with a clear coat. This project was a lot of fun to make, and it was really inexpensive to make, when compared to store prices that could cost you anywhere from upwards of $100, especially when you start to get into the larger canvas frames. So when it's compared to 40 some odd dollars in a little bit of time, I think it's well worth it. So if you like projects like these, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date with all the future projects to come. And I'll see you next time on Modern Ideations.